And because our tensions are high and our emotions are high, we may find ourselves to be more vulnerable to a lot of these things. So the idea is to educate ourselves at every turn, really, not exactly wait for something big to happen or wait for a friend or a family member to become a victim, but educate ourselves now. So down the road, we can spot these signs. We can help ourselves stay safe, as well as our neighbors, friends, things of that sort. The number one group that's victimized through scams are seniors. Okay, that is the truth. However, it's not just seniors. So when I go out and I speak to groups, I'd like to remind people, after this talk today, my ask of you folks is to go out and share the information that we've learned today. So share with, it could be your peer, but it can also be your child or your grandchild or your neighbor or anybody, okay? Because the more that we can bring light to these problems, hopefully the more people will save. If I could guess, I would say everybody here either has unfortunately been a victim of a scam or knows somebody that's been a victim of a scam. So it's really nothing to be ashamed of, because these scams prey on our human nature. So the idea is that if you do become a victim, silence doesn't help anybody, because then, as I said, that means that your neighbor could be the next one to become the victim. So what we ask is that you share those experiences with people to keep others safe. And let me go back and just mention, if there's any questions as we go through, please feel free to put those in on the chat, and I'll cut short before the hour's over, and I'll make sure to answer all of your questions. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do at the Division of Consumer Affairs. Our number one goal is to protect consumers in the marketplace, and we do that in several ways. The first way that we do that, and hopefully a lot of you know this, is that we license and register over 80 different professions. Excuse me. So that means your dentists, your nurses, your physical therapists, podiatrists, anybody you could really think of in the medical field. We license and register them, nurses as well. And then all the way to the other spectrum of professions, which would be our blue collar folks, we call them, you know, our electricians, our masons, our landscape artists, things of that sort. So we want you to think of us before you do business here in the state of New Jersey, because many of the people that you will work with do, by the law here, need to be licensed and or registered through our office. Why is that important? Because if you decide to answer your door and a gentleman walks up and he says, I have a great deal for you today. I was doing a driveway down the street. I've got some extra materials in my truck. You know, I can do your driveway for, you know, $300 and it's going to be a steal. And it does sound like a steal, but like we say at the office, if it's too good to be true, it is, right? So we want you to remember that. It's important to know who you're working with. So we ask that you give our office a call, make sure that these people are licensed and or registered here in the state. We can also tell you if there's been any complaints on them in the last 2 years. That's why it's important as consumers to also call us and let us know when you've had a problem with any sort of company of that sort, so we can go ahead and share that information with the next consumer. Some other little things that we have, like tips for consumers. On our website, we have something called our consumer briefs. And if you look on our website, it's njconsumeraffairs.gov. You can look up, there's about 200 different topics on what you can look up. So you can look up best practices for hiring a home improvement contractor. You can look up all the specifics on the New Jersey Lemon Law. We have a New Jersey Lemon Law for new cars. We have a New Jersey Lemon Law for used cars. And then we also have a New Jersey Lemon Law for motorized wheelchairs, which a lot of people don't know about, but there's a lot of issues and scams when it comes to those as well. So there are many, many, many protections on the books here in the state of New Jersey for our consumers. There's so many that we don't expect you to know all of them. That's why we're in place. So we always want you to think of us before you do any sort of business like that. So that's one way that we protect consumers, right? We try to protect the marketplace. The other way is what I've been invited to speak to you about today, which is a little bit different, because if you hire an electrician and they do fraudulent work, which we investigate and we make sure whether it's actual fraud or bad business, which are two different things. If it is actual fraud, we can investigate. What we do typically is we bring them in for a moderation meeting. We can issue them a notice of violation. We can tell them how are you just basically going to make this right for the consumer. And a lot of the times on the best days in the office, we can get restitution back for folks that have been basically scammed. We may not always all the time make you whole, but we'll be able to get a portion back of what it is that you were cheated out of, basically. That's different. That's when we know it's a business where it's a brick and mortar establishment. I can knock on these people's doors. I can find them. I can ask them to come in. Okay, that's a different sort of scam. What I want to talk to you folks today about are these scams that come in through the telephone, through the internet, through the mail. And like I said before, even that random guy that knocks on your door and says, oh, hey, I see there's a dent in your car. I can fix that for, $100 in my garage down the road. These are the scams where, unfortunately, if your money is taken, it's gone, and I can't get it back for you. The FBI can't get it back for you. The local police, the state police, no one can get it back for you. When your money is gone in those forms, it's gone. So the idea is to become educated before it happens, okay? One of the worst stories I've heard recently was a woman, and she came in and she told me about her mother. Excuse me. Now her mother, and this is one of the latest scams that is happening, is the romance scam. So her mother was elderly, she was a widow, and she wanted to find companionship, and nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, she fell into the hands of a scam artist. And this gentleman proceeded to convince her that he was gonna, come whisk her off to, his home in Italy, and he convinced her to give away almost $80,000 of her life savings. And nothing could be done. Okay, the mother has her wits about her. She is of sound mind. It wasn't like the daughter had power of attorney where she could stop her mother from doing this with her money. So she came to me and she said, what is it that I can do? And it really made me stop and think. And I said, the only way that could have been prevented was with what we're doing today. Like I said, educating before it happens, okay? So this is the point, educating before it happens and keeping our eyes open for friends or loved ones that may be in certain situations like this, okay? So the number one thing I want everyone to take away from today, if you've changed no other behaviors or actions in your day-to-day life, I want you to do one thing, and I want you to tell everyone that will listen, okay? What I tell everyone. When your telephone rings and you don't know the number, simply do not pick up the phone. That's the number one thing that I'd like to share with everybody. And actually, some of you may be, shaking your heads. Yes, obviously, who does it? But a lot of people find it difficult to not pick up that phone when it rings. Even as I was growing up, I grew up in a world where it wasn't a dangerous thing to pick up the phone. But unfortunately, I'm telling you now, it is, because on the other end of that phone are scam artists that are trying to contact you. First of all, they want to know if you're even willing to pick up the phone, if you're even willing to engage with them. And that's their first crack at to getting into you and to getting to your private information. Okay, so the phone rings. I don't know the number, so I don't pick it up. I always tell folks, if it's important, it will go to voicemail. And many times, even the scam artists leave me voicemails, right? If I could play 3 that I have saved on my phone right now, because I like to save those for when I come out and do talks like this. And a lot of times they sound very phony, and you can tell it's somebody from another country, they're overseas, their English isn't perfect, which if it was somebody like Apple, a company like that, they're gonna know what they're talking about. They're going to sound professional. A lot of these scam artists, as I said, you can tell they're from overseas. A lot of them are always threatening. So whenever you hear a message, okay, that's another thing. Whenever you hear a message, whether that's on the telephone or an email, and it comes across with a threatening nature, or it comes across in a way that it is just designed to make you want to act. Okay, so without thinking, you're just going to want to act. You're going to want to react, should I say. So it's there's a problem with your account, or, your credit card has been, your credit card has been compromised. Call this number, et cetera, et cetera. So these are all the red flags that we want to watch out for, okay? If their phone call, they're eliciting an immediate response from you, and they don't want you to think twice, and they don't want you to do your research, and they just want you to call right away, okay? That's one of the red flags that we're talking about. So I talk to a lot of people, and they say, well, for instance, this woman I was speaking to, she's in real estate, and she says, well, I can't not pick up the phone because that's my business. Okay, so I said, all right, that's interesting. That's true. That's a tough one. So what I do tell folks is, if you do need to pick up the phone, so step 2 to this rule that I'm asking you folks to institute now is, if you do need to pick up the phone and you don't know the number, stop yourself from saying the word yes. Okay, that's the number one word that they're trying to get you to say when they pick up the phone, for several reasons. Basically, they want to be able to, they'll ask you something very innocent, like, can you hear me? Or they might, call you by name and ask, is this Melanie Hazem? And I say, yes, okay? That's the last thing that you want to say, because that gives them an opportunity to record your voice giving approval. And so they can take that recording and put it on the end of anything. Okay, so again, be aware that they may even say something like, can you hear me? Or something that sounds very innocent. But what I always tell people, and what I do when I need to pick up the phone, because I'm in the same boat, my phone rings for, all the libraries and all the places that I go, I visit to speak, they're calling me. And so I can't not pick up my phone all the time. So my thing is, I stick to a very small script that I can never forget. And I just stick to who's speaking, who's speaking, who's speaking until that person answers me. Now, one of a few things may happen. It may be a real call, and they may say, this is so-and-so, I'm calling from, this library, and, just calling to confirm, or it will be a recording. So obviously they won't be able to answer me. And so I'll know that something is up, or they will identify themselves as a company, and I'll know that I have no business with them, so they have no reason to be calling me. So that's a red flag there, and I say, you know what, I'm hanging up the phone. Okay, that's it. And there's a ton of other telephone scams. So we've all heard of, and I'm sure, again, I always ask for a show of hands, which is a little different situation here, but we've all heard of the IRS scam, right? So the IRS, they will call you, they will act as the IRS, and they will tell you that you owe them, $30,000 from, 20 years ago. And if you don't pay within a certain amount of, if you don't call us back and pay us within a certain amount of time, we're going to freeze your assets, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that you could really think of, they'll come up with. So another thing that I would like for all of us to, I'm sure a lot of us know already, but just in case we don't, and if we do, then the second part of this is share this with a friend. The IRS will never, ever, 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 ever call you, okay? If there's an issue with the IRS, you will get a very lovely, perfect grammar, a letter that's very well written in the mail with a reference number, and you will be asked to give them a call and refer to this reference number. Now, even though, all those things sound like they could be legitimate, you still have to do your work, okay? So that's the problem with these scams. The work lies on all of us to not become victims. So go that extra mile. Double check that phone number that they're asking you to call. Things of that sort. Just make sure it is legitimate, okay? It's just, don't take anything for face value, okay? What we call those are government imposter scams. And as I said, they'll take the form of any sort of, large government agency that, of course, nobody wants to be in trouble with. And they'll say that you need to act, as soon as possible before more trouble comes your way. And that usually includes sending some form of payment, some sort of money for whatever it is the problem is, okay? Another popular one, and I wonder if, again, when I'm in a room with folks, it's always easier to ask, but I'm sure that there's some head shaking at home, is called the grandparent scam. So the grandparent scams sounds like this: you're home and your phone rings, and if you're a female, they'll say, "Grandma, it's me." And if you're a male, they'll say, "Grandpa, it's me." And the person on the other end says it's your favorite grandchild or it's your first grandchild, and they'll convince you that it is a family member of yours. And the first thing that they hope that comes out of your mouth is the name of that grandchild. Okay, so as soon as you give that name, and as soon as you say, Michael, is that you? Then they're off to the races. Yes, grandma, it's me, it's Michael. And their story is that they're out of the country. They need a large sum of money to get out of trouble. They were arrested. They're going to be held with, some police in some other country, and et cetera, et cetera. So these are all the things that can happen. And the problem is as I said, again, one of those red flags. This phone call is having you act immediately, all right? Don't think, don't double check with family, send me the money right away, okay? That is a red flag. So let's think about this, all right? So now that we've heard about the grandparent scam, for example, and we know what we could expect with the other phone calls, if the grandparent scam happens to fall in your lap, the best thing I can tell people to do is, first of all, don't give out any names. And second of all, if you think it might be a grandchild, okay, because I can't say that these things would never in a million years happen, because of course we know anything can happen. But if you think it's a grandchild, stop, take a breath, and think about a question that you can ask them that will prove that it's really them, right? So say, what is your mother's name? Or what is your dog's name? Or, something like that, something to that effect. An address, that's kind of public record, so I would stay away from something like that. A lot of things are public record, so think about something that's a little more secure. Or another great idea is have this conversation with your family, okay? If there are lots of young people in the family and you're the grandparents or you're the caretakers and stuff like that, these are the conversations that need to be had. Let's think of a code word. If, God forbid, anyone ever is in trouble, what is the code word? And so then none of us, we won't fall victim to any of this, okay? I've even heard this in the reverse, where it's not the grandparent scam, it's the child scam, and the adult child is getting a phone call that says their elderly parent has been in a car accident, and they're sitting there with the person and they're threatening them that they're gonna, hurt their parent if they don't send them money right away. All right, I've heard all these sorts of things. A crazy story that I've heard is that these scam artists get information from obituaries. Okay, so the woman that I was speaking to in one particular situation, she just had her father-in-law pass away. And so all of her information happened to be out in an obituary, which is something so innocent. And of course, who doesn't fill out an obituary and who doesn't want to do that for their loved one? But these are things that unfortunately open us up to these terrible scams. Okay, so these are just all things that we need to think about. Another big red flag that it sounds obvious, but in the heat of the moment, it may not be. And again, it's nothing to be embarrassed about, because I feel like I open the paper every single day. Yes, I still read the paper. And I feel like I see these stories every single day about folks that are taken advantage of or scammed. And during the course of the scam, they're asked to pay whatever it is they're trying to pay with gift cards. So again, huge red flag. If anybody is ever asking you to do business and they want you to pay them with gift cards, stop, okay? Nobody reputable will only accept gift cards, okay? I'm sure we've all heard of this, where the person goes down to the Walgreens and they're asked to, pay the $500 in gift cards. That's definitely a stop and pause moment, okay? The reason why these scam artists like to use gift cards is, of course, because once that money is gone, it's gone. They're virtually untraceable once you give the code on the back of the card, and the money it's in their pocket, okay? And as I said before, many of these scam artists are overseas, and so there's no way to track that money. As I said, sometimes once the money is gone, it's absolutely gone, okay? So I love my job because I hope I help people, and I also don't want to scare people, okay? The unfortunate part is that there are so many of these scams, and I say this always, I can talk for hours about all of these things that can possibly happen and go on every single day, unfortunately, okay? I was just mentioning earlier, in better times, I'm on the road 80% of the year, driving to all sorts of groups and educating groups on exactly what we're talking about today. You know, groups as small as ours today. I've addressed groups of, 300. It was a women's club somewhere in Central Jersey. There's 300 folks, and I'm in there, and I'm trying to spread the word and educate people. Unfortunately, the truth is, it will continue to happen, okay? Unless, like I said, we really, really dedicate ourselves to educating ourselves. What I mentioned before is another big thing that I hope that you all can begin to practice. And I mentioned pausing, okay? So if any of these things ever, fall into your lap, appear, as I said, a funny phone call, somebody offering you something that's too good to be true, knocking at your front door, telling you they can do some, fabulous affordable work on your driveway. As I said, the phone calls, especially emails. Emails are a huge place where a lot of these scams are happening. I ask that you take a moment and practice the pause, because that's where we have a chance to breathe. We have a chance to rationalize. We have a chance to think, because what these scam artists want specifically is for us not to think, and for us just to react, and for us just to send them that money they're asking for. So we can, of course, get our loved one out of trouble, or, as we said, get ourselves out of trouble if the IRS is, after us. And I see a question from Mary. So let me just, hold on one second. Okay. I'm just checking on my time. Thank you for your question, Mary. Let me get to you in a couple of minutes. So yes, practicing a pause is what's going to keep us safe, okay? Unfortunately, like I said, these scam artists really just want us to react and not think about what it is that we're doing, okay? Anything that's reputable, as I said, you're not gonna have to act immediately. Nothing that has to do with your banking information, or even like a great car sale, right? Like, one of the stories I've heard on my travels is I had a gentleman that went to a car dealership. And the car dealer told him, well, this is the price, and this is a great price, and it's not going to be here. You need to make the decision now, or you have to walk away. And he said, well, the price is going to change, tomorrow. He said, no, the price was going to change in 10 minutes. So you need to decide now. Obviously, that's a scam, okay? That's obviously a scam. So just remember this, okay? These folks are looking for people to, unfortunately, to victimize. And they, this is why they spend all their days, calling people, okay? As I said before, if you don't pick up your phone, you're keeping yourself safe, but they're hoping the next person will pick up their phone, and open themselves up. So with that, let me go to the questions, because the questions are always helpful, because they usually lead me into another terrific topic. So the question is, excuse me if you can see this, are all of the organizations asking about donations to feed essential workers registered anywhere? Also, is Charity Navigator a good source for not-for-profit groups? Fabulous question, Mary. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So I didn't go into much more of the detail with my office, but so the Division of Consumer Affairs, we're one of 12 divisions under the Attorney General's office. Okay, we've also got like Division of Gaming, weights and measures, state police, of course, which we've all heard of. So back to our division. Inside of our division, we have a whole bunch of other separate organizations, one of which is our charities registration section, okay? So fantastic, especially as I mentioned earlier, with this state of emergency, I guess, that we're still in, or what have you. You may be getting phone calls about that, feeding essential workers. And yes, the organizations that are calling and soliciting you for any sort of donations need to be registered at our division. So again, get their name, get their or their phone number, get their address if they call you, get all the information you can about them. And then before you want to give, or before you decide to donate, give us a call. Make sure that they are legitimate. Okay, if they are located anywhere in the United States, but they're calling folks in New Jersey, they need to be registered through our office. Okay, even if they're located in Florida, California, wherever you could think of, they do need to be registered through our office. excuse me, and to the second part of your question, Charity Navigator is a fantastic source to double check on where your donations go. I'm obviously not here to endorse any websites, but as a regular person, not wearing my Division of Consumer Affairs hat, yes, that's a fantastic website to go to. Okay, that's the sad part about a lot of these scams, is that they are going to pull on your heartstrings and they're going to ask you to donate money, and it may not very well go to the places that they say it's going to, or the recipients may only receive 2 cents on the dollar, and the rest of it will go to their overhead costs, their management, their marketing, and things of that sort. Okay, so as I mentioned before, and please keep the questions coming, folks. As I mentioned before, if you visit our website, again, it's NJ Consumer Affairs. Let me just double check. It's got to be .gov, excuse me, njconsumeraffairs.gov, correct. There is a place, there's a section that says consumer briefs. And again, that will give you information on probably 200 topics about what we're talking about today. Like I said before, our lemon law, dealing with a home improvement contractor, rules on travel agencies, right? What are your rights when you purchase a travel package, which we don't do too much these days. A lot of us go online, but even still, there's rights when you purchase those travel packages through those websites. So we call those our consumer briefs. So I really, really encourage you guys to look through those. There's just so much information. If you have another specific question, even after our talk today, and you have, it seems like maybe it's too much to look through, we understand that. I'm gonna share my information so you guys can call me directly. And if it's something that is over my head, or if it's more of an investigative question, I will certainly be able to pass you on to one of our investigators. But what more you can find on that page is this printout that I love to give, that I love to share. And actually, I have shared this one. This is a little different. So this is our COVID scams. So this is a little bit more specific. This is something that has just come out. It's a little more brand new, obviously, to what we're living through right now. But this is the one I really like, and it's called Top 10 Red Flags, all right, that it might be a scam. So I want to just go through these. So number one, you are told to not tell anybody about your alleged prize or winnings, okay? That's another one of those scams that we talk about. We're on the phone, right? So you'll get a phone call that says, congratulations, you've won a trip to Disney World, or you've won a cruise, and et cetera, et cetera. But just don't, or I'm sorry, usually it's you've won a lottery, right? So they say you don't want your family members to get jealous and go after the money, so don't tell anyone, it's a secret. What usually follows that is, all you need to do is send $4,000 for the taxes and fees, and then we will go ahead and send you your prize. Well, that's absolutely illegal in the state of New Jersey. As I mentioned earlier, we have something called the, or if I didn't, excuse me, the Consumer Fraud Act. It's about this thick, so that's why I don't expect all of you to know it, but that's one of the things basically that's in the Consumer Fraud Act. It is illegal to have to pay for a prize, okay? And if you're paying for a prize, it's not a prize, it's something different altogether. So just remember that, okay? Number two, you're pressured to act quickly without thinking, to take advantage of this great opportunity, right? Like I mentioned at the car dealership, or to avoid criminal or legal proceedings. That talks again about the IRS scam, right? If you don't want us to come after you, you better send us money right away. And what usually happens with that is that they'll say they're from the IRS, you owe us, even if they say you owe us $4,000, and the person starts going along with it, and they say, oh my gosh, well, I don't have $4,000. And then they say, okay, let me put you on with my manager. And then some other scam artist comes on, he said, you know what, give us, a percentage of that. So the person says, great, I can send you 400. And they say, okay, you think that you're getting off scot-free, and they are thrilled that they just got $400 out of you, okay? So just be aware that this is exactly how the brain works. Number three, you get an offer of guaranteed investment returns, lottery winnings, or promises of free money, okay? As I said before, this falls under it's too good to be true. No one gives away money for free. Number four, during the course of any purported sales pitch, debt collection, or other interaction, you're asked to provide sensitive personal information, such as, we all know what these are: social security number, credit card number, bank number, bank account number, email, PIN numbers, birthdays, or any personal passwords, okay? What I always say is that this is, just remember, this is our personal private information, okay? Do not ever, ever, ever give it out to anyone that's calling you. The only time you should feel comfortable sharing this information, because unfortunately during the course of business, we do have to share this information to identify ourselves sometimes, right? Like when I call my bank and they want to know it's me. I remember one time when I was going away on a trip and I wanted to let them know, I looked on the back of my card and I knew I was calling my Bank of America, and they said, okay, that's no problem. We'll put we'll put a mark on your account that you're going to be out of the country. We just need you to prove who you are. And so what is your mother's maiden name? And I gave it to them because I was the one that initiated the phone call. That is the only time you should feel safe doing so, only when you initiate the phone call. When the phone call comes from out to you, don't ever believe who it is. They can say they're anybody at all on the phone, okay? Even if there may be something up, you say, you know what, I'll call you back. And then if they give you a phone number to call back at, don't call that number. That's when I said the work lies on us. It's time for you to do the research. As I said, you go to your statement or you go to the back of your credit card and you give a call to that phone number. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say that was absolutely not us. Do not give out your information, because that's not how it works. And many of us know that. But that's another big thing. Okay, so only when you are initiating the phone call should you feel comfortable giving out that information. That is the only time. Number 5, a caller avoids answering your questions about who they are, how they got your number, and they get defensive if you ask if they're legitimate, okay? That will definitely be one of those situations when perhaps it's a one of these charity groups that are supposed charity groups that are calling you to collect, okay? They should never be intimidated or get defensive if they are the real deal. Number 6, a caller threatens you with arrest or legal action, becomes hostile, or uses profanity if you don't pay up, okay? Again, any reputable company would never speak to any of their customers like that, okay? So if that happens, instead of getting heated in the moment, because that's what they want, as I said before, pause and say, wait a second, something's not right here, and feel free to hang right up on them. Number 7, someone tells you to pay money up front before you can receive your winnings or prize, like we said earlier. Number 8, you receive official documents by email or regular mail with misspellings, poor grammar, and or fake looking logos, okay? Now, unfortunately, these days, these emails that come in look really, 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 really official, okay? So this is a good opportunity for me to remind you about all the email scams that I see every day, and I'm sure you do too. Okay, so again, as I said, if it's too good to be true, it is. So there's no way that every time I shop at a CVS and I use my little, my account card to get my coupons and my points, I walk out and I get an email that says, every time I got an email that says, I've won a $500 gift card to CVS, okay? I don't know how it works, but somehow my information was bought and sold, which all of our information out there is bought and sold, unfortunately. And somebody's got my email on some sort of site, and they know when I make a purchase, they send me this because they want me to bite, okay? So I know that that's too good to be true, okay? I have an iPhone, and every once in a while I'll get an email that says, you purchased this video game and something, et cetera, all this stuff. And I know I haven't purchased a video game. And they also say in the email, if this isn't you, click here. Again, they're trying to elicit a response from me. They want me to click there, whether that's going to give my phone a virus. So they're going to have to charge me to clear it up, which is another scam. Or they're just going to ask me for more money to get out of some, phony game that I never bought. The idea is that whenever you get an email that comes in from a company that supposedly is reputable, so that would be, like I said, Apple, or I'm a PayPal customer. Ooh, I'm a PayPal customer. What I need for you folks to do is just hover your mouse over the from field. So it will say, when you're looking at it, Apple@support.com or whatever, which looks reputable. But when you hover your mouse over that, it will give you the actual real address, and it'll be probably about 35 letters long. And that's a red flag that shows us that that's not the actual company. Okay, that's not real, it's phony. Unfortunately, they have found a way to make themselves look like Apple and have an Apple email address. But when you look at it and you hover your mouse over it, it'll clearly show you that that's not the company at all. Number 9, you're directed to send money in non-traditional ways, like I mentioned before, wire transfers, money orders, prepaid debit cards, or even cash wrapped in newspaper. And yes, that's happened, unfortunately. It does, it sounds crazy. And I'm sure some of the things that I've mentioned today at home have you shaking your heads and saying, how could anybody fall for that? You know, it's silly, it's ridiculous. How could anyone really believe that these things happen? But unfortunately, like I said, the truth is it happens every single day. And a very dangerous outlook to have is that it could never happen to me. Because then you go through life with your blinders and you don't see the signs and you think I'm too smart or no way could that happen, and you might be surprised. Okay, so that's a dangerous, as I said, it's a dangerous attitude to have. Okay, it happens to everybody. It happens to, it doesn't matter what your education level is, what your income level is, none of that. Okay, what we also say is, you know, the more money you have, the more these scam artists can take. It has nothing to do with intelligence or economic status, anything of that sort, okay? Number 10, a caller won't let you hang up the phone, or a solicitor won't let you close the door, even after you say you're not interested, okay? When they don't take no for an answer, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag. So anyway, those are our top 10 red flag scams. As I said, on the website, there is plenty of more information out there. I'm happy to answer any more questions, but I feel like it's been quiet on the question side, which is totally fine. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out to come and listen to this valuable information. As I mentioned when I started, please don't let the conversation stop here. Please bring this to a sibling, a family member, a friend, a child, a grandchild. Have that conversation with your folks, okay? Or excuse me, with your family. Let's talk about that word that we can check on and we can use if there's ever any real emergencies. Yes, everything that I mentioned, Beth is asking, are the flyers you mentioned available online or by email? Everything's available on our website. It's njconsumeraffairs.gov, and you're looking for consumer briefs, okay? Another question.
Can also, I was gonna say, I can also email all the flyers to the participants that signed up today. And
okay, you know what? That's great. I'm going to do that too, because I know you're on the road. So when we hang up, I'll send you the direct links, because it could be a little hard to find on the website, but I'll send you the link to where you can find all those briefs. So you click right in and it gives you a list from A to Z of all the topics you can think of. And you just search down on the list.
And I forgot to mention in the beginning real quick,
Yes.
I wanted to thank, and I'm sorry for this, I forgot to thank Age Friendly for helping us to sponsor and promote this event, and Melanie, so I just wanted to mention that. So sorry,
of course.
I forgot to mention Age Friendly.
I see another question. I'm sorry, I see another question here. And we still have a couple more minutes. So yes, the flyers are available. I'm going to send all those links to you as soon as we get off. If phony charges are on a credit card statement, how long does a bank have to fix this? I'm not sure. That would be a question for our banking and insurance people. So I don't want to misspeak on something that I don't know too much about. But the credit card companies are there to help us. We are their customer. We pay them handsome fees to protect us. So they need to work with us. And I always tell people, if there's phony charges on a credit card, don't give up. Okay, keep calling, keep talking to somebody. If that person on the phone is not helping you, ask to talk to their manager, their supervisor. Continue to call somebody if a phony charge is on your credit card. Don't let it up, because that's why I said we pay them. A credit card is the safest way to shop, whether it's online or in person, anything like that, because of the protections they offer. Obviously, a debit card is the most unsafe way to shop. Any way to find out how we can stop companies from selling our names to other companies? Great question. So the fact is that at this stage in our lives, our information is out there. Had we known about this when we first started, banking and getting credit cards and, buying homes, we might be able to change it. But unfortunately, a lot of things are also public record. So for example, I'm very fortunate last year I bought my first home. And with being a new homeowner, I'm getting all kinds of scam emails about refinancing my home and et cetera, and all this stuff. So unfortunately, we cannot stop the ones that have already been out there. But going forward, there's always ways to opt out. But again, as I said, the work lies on us, right? So guess where you're gonna find that information? When you go to your credit card and you're gonna go to the privacy policy and it's about 133 pages long, and it's hidden in there somewhere in that 85th page where you have to check a little box that says, don't share my information. That's how they get us, okay? So going forward, as we do business, we can start asking people, don't share my information. Is there an opt-out clause? Because if so, I would like to, check that box. But the other side of this whole thing is, while we can't stop our information from being out there, because this is the information age, you know my first and last name. If you go on the internet, in 2 minutes, you can tell me where I live and where I went to school and all kinds of stuff, where my office is. So unfortunately, since we can't stop that end of it, what we have to do is educate ourselves on the other end, where that information being out there could cause us problems, could do us harm, and protect ourselves from those people that can use that information against us. All right, so not a great answer to that question, but that's why it's kind of, unfortunately, we have to be reactive. We can't exactly, well, that's being proactive is what you're all doing today, is coming and learning about the possible scams. But then we also have to be reactive after the fact and noticing when these scams come to us, okay? Let me see what other questions we have. Joanne, I'm not understanding what your question is, but VoIP service, which requires a caller to it's for safety reasons. That's great. That's great. Okay, that's another way. That's almost like using your caller ID. Okay, unfortunately, that's also not a perfect safety measure, because unfortunately, what these scam artists do is they use they use something called spoofing. So they will find a way to fake their phone numbers, okay? Sometimes when you get a phone call and it will actually say it's the IRS, because they found a way to basically swipe that phone number and put it in front of theirs, and it might look like a reputable number, okay? How many of us in here get phone calls all the time from phone numbers that are our first 3 digits of our phone number, the next it's our area code, first 3 digits of our phone number, and then the last 4 are, some other combination. That's called neighbor spoofing. So that's how these scam artists, take these programs that they figured out, and they make the phone numbers look familiar. So it encourages you to pick up the phone. Okay. So yes, I would never say don't, do the VoIP or don't do the caller ID. Of course, those are always ways to help the problem. But unfortunately, as soon as we figure out how to stop these scam artists, and as soon as we figure out their scams, they've got 2 more up ahead where they're, they know how to get one over on us. So that is a great way, but just also remember, still keep those, as I said, those tips in the front of your mind. Going back to my questions. Some companies or catalogs offer to do this for a cost. Okay, so we're talking about like LifeLock and things of that sort, I think, right, Mary? I think that's what you mean. Like protecting our information. Those are, again, I'm not here to endorse any outside companies. They're fine companies, they're great companies, but those things are not anything that you or I couldn't do for ourselves, okay? And again, the work will lie on us, okay? So for example, what I recommend all the time to people is, if you are not in the, if you're not in the market for buying a new home or a brand new car or anything like this, I think that your best bet is to freeze your credit, okay? I tell people this all the time. Now, this means that you will still be able to use your current credit that you always have. All the credit cards in your wallet, you can still use them, But if anyone gets a hold of your personal private information, nobody will be able to open up anything new under your name. All right. If you decide to change your mind and you do need to purchase the car or purchase that home, then you can just unfreeze your credit. There is a small fee for that, but it's worth every penny because the protections that it offers when it is frozen. And then you unfreeze, and then you can do your business, and then you can freeze them again. And those are part of the flyers that are also available online. There's a whole section on all sorts of things on how to protect your credit, okay? Let me see. Okay, so someone else has a phone like that. It really cuts down on the calls. That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that it cuts down on the calls. Another thing that I use on my phone, it's called, I think it was through AARP, and it's called Nomo Robo. And it's an app that you can download. I believe there is a fee, but it's cut down dramatically the number of calls that I receive from those scam artists. It's been very helpful. All right, let's see what else. Google Voice has an option that speaker has to say the name. Okay. Google Assistant asks the caller to leave a message before I answer. That's great. Helps to avoid all the car warranty calls. Oh yes, most definitely. Okay, that's it. Nomo Robo. Thank you. Another one lets you load your frequent contacts. Yep. So their names will pop up. Yep. Excellent. Beth, that's great. Okay. All right, folks, I'm happy to stay on for further questions. I think the most important thing is that I'm going to send the links along to you folks, and I'll be able to send you all the information that we discussed. Please feel free if you're a member of any other groups. Usually it's my pleasure to be in person, but as we know, we're dealing with different things right now. But if your group would like a similar a lecture, I'm happy to do so. And again, I'll have all my personal information in the email that will get forwarded to all you folks. But please, again, just remember, we are the Division of Consumer Affairs. There's 2 DCAs. The bigger one is the Department of Community Affairs. So unfortunately, we're both DCA. Those are the folks that deal with zoning and laws and building permits and such, things of that nature. So we're Consumer Affairs. We deal with protecting consumers. So what I tell folks is please take advantage of us, get on the website, watch our services or check out our services. We have a lot to offer to be able to protect you folks out there in the marketplace. And what we always say at the division is, please take advantage of us before someone takes advantage of you. All right, thank you everybody for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. And as I said before, please tell a friend, even if it's one thing that we discussed today. I think we'll all be able to help somebody else. So thank you very, very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Melanie. This was wonderful. And I've learned a lot too, because I'm very loosey-goosey and I will no longer be loosey-goosey. My parents yell
There's a lot, yes.
And again, a big thank you to the Ridgewood Library and Age Friendly for helping us put this program together. So I hope everyone's doing well. And again, this program was recorded, so I will send it along with all the flyers and links from Melanie too. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
All right.